You said, no, we have to invest in things that we're going to clean up the air, clean up the rivers, and so on and so forth.
The issue about how China is going to deal with green energy and adjusting the economy is a very big question.
Now with the new 5-year plan, he's putting an emphasis on green growth and developing new technologies, new energy. Is having an enormous impact, positive impact.
I think green is critical, and the early industrializing countries in the West, and then Japan, and then in industrial East Asia, Japan and the Four Tigers, all industrialized very rapid. Well, East Asia in particular rapidly, but in the West it took a long time. But they polluted their environments. They did not pay attention to the environment, and then later they said, we're killing ourselves. We have to clean up our environment, and we have to have green, sustainable development. So they're very well aware of that now. And it's expensive. You have to clean up the mess you made, and then you have to use possibly more expensive means to continue your economic development. It would be cheaper to just throw stuff in the river, pollute the air. You say, no, we have to invest in things that we're going to clean up the air, clean up the rivers, and so on and so forth. So I think, again, it's very wise for President Xi and your government to pay attention to that.
Well, I think that the entire conference was talking about green in a very deep and sophisticated way. Green refers to the fact that we now live in a planet with 7 billion people, and that there are far more people than our society can support on this planet. So all nations are beginning to get very conscious about their need to think about their use of resources and their use of precious things like air and water. So I think it's fitting and appropriate that the new president includes this as one of his central ideas.
I think that means the next 5-year program, the 13th from next year, will be more about implementing effective policies, because still China's cities have poor air quality, water is a problem, and China's environment is still having a heavy burden from rapid industrialization. So because this impacts on people's living and well-being, so it's very important that they feel the environment is being paid attention to.
One of the things that I, coming from Denmark, admire China for is the implementation. Sometimes it's relatively easy to make long-term plans on what to do on the energy supply and what to do in the environment and so on. But very often it's the hard time is the implementation to bring it into the world and bring it into reality from having the plans. And this is where I see that you are very efficient and very good in China to do this. So I very much appreciate that you're also looking this way towards renewable energy and decreasing the dependency on imports of oil and so on. And I am very confident the approach you have, because I think you're very efficient in the implementation of your goals.
And so, I mean, what the bad side of China's development has been the way it had disregard for the environment. The good side of Chinese development is that the Chinese leadership seem very determined to change that situation, recognize the crucial importance of global warming, and recognize that something needs to be done about it. And you can see this in the way in which they promoted the solar panel industry, wind turbines, electric cars, electric scooters, and so on.
The issue about how China is going to deal with green energy and adjusting the economy is a very big question. From my point of view, and I think many other people's point of view, the biggest global problem is a coordination problem, or an assurance problem that if China is going to advance its green energy policies, that other countries also do so. It fits more broadly with the idea that a green priority in the economy can be a positive win-win opportunity for everyone.
In fact, the fact that China, under the new 5-year plan now, is putting an emphasis on green growth and developing new technologies, new energy, is having an enormous impact, positive impact. In fact, it's both the fact that China did all this and the US came on board that made the COP21 possible. And so I think China is having an enormous role in developing of wind energy, sun energy, and all kinds of new energies. There's also a lot of efficiency gains that can be obtained in China. What's good is that it's good for the world, but it's also what the Chinese public is expecting, because it's solving both global climate and issues of pollution at home. So I think the emphasis is right.
What China is planning to do under the new plan, next 5-year plan, is really a milestone, not just for China, but for the world. Okay? So as you know, China is aiming to have blue skies and blue water as part of its strategy. And it is extremely important to recognize that China is plans to put an effort behind that, which very, very few countries can do. So, for example, China plans to spend 3% of GDP every year in cleaning up its water and in cleaning up its air. Okay? That is the amount of money they are planning to spend on cleaning up its infrastructure. It is larger than what Brazil spends on all of its infrastructure in a year. So the ambition with which China is approaching this is very important. But as you know, by looking at the sky here, etc., it is much needed. And it is very important, not just for China, but because it's also very important for the planet. So by doing this, China is making a big contribution to the world, but it's also making a big contribution to the future generations of young people here in China.